At the beginning of the story, we saw a US fighter jet flying over Afghanistan when suddenly some enemies fired a missile at it. Terry, who was piloting the plane, immediately activated the fighter jet's defense system, but unfortunately, the missile still hit their jet. The plane was completely out of control, and there was only one way to survive: to jump out of the plane. Without wasting any time, both of them jumped out of their fighter jet. A few minutes later, Kate and Terry regained consciousness and found themselves in the middle of the Afghan desert. But before Terry could help the injured Kate, Afghan fighters surrounded them and opened fire on Terry, severely wounding him. Then, just as an Afghan fighter approached Terry, Kate suddenly attacked him. She shot the man dead with her gun. After that, Kate fired rapidly at the other enemies and, with her bravery, disarmed them. But the troubles didn't end there. Suddenly, another Afghan fighter appeared, and when Kate tried to fire at him, she realized her gun was out of ammunition. She was forced to think about escaping. But before she could be killed by the enemy, Terry mustered his strength and shot the Afghan fighter. After this act of bravery, Terry was breathing his last. Kate was completely devastated by this incident. She went to her partner, and Terry apologized to her for not being able to get them both out of that difficult situation. Hearing this, Kate's eyes filled with tears. Now her only goal was to somehow contact the rescue team. Meanwhile, the other Afghan fighters saw that their leader was still alive. They also realized that the American soldiers had escaped. After walking for some time, Kate saw a whole convoy of enemy vehicles in the distance, which had surrounded the entire area. Kate immediately decided that staying there was dangerous, so she ran towards a nearby bunker to hide. But before she could reach the bunker, the enemies spotted her and opened fire. Their leader even fired a missile at Kate, but she narrowly escaped. As the smoke cleared, Kate saw that the explosion had blown open the bunker door. Without wasting a second, Kate slipped inside. Just then, an enemy soldier followed her to the door, and Kate shot him with her pistol. Afterward, Kate found herself standing before a staircase that seemed to descend hundreds of meters, but she had no choice, so she decided to go down. She couldn't understand what kind of place this was, but she cautiously moved forward. Then she heard the sound of approaching enemies behind her, so in an attempt to find a way out, Kate went further inside. As she entered a section of the bunker, she was hit by a terrible smell, and what she saw a little further on terrified her. There, a corpse lay in a gruesome state. Not only that, but Kate also found a mysterious device along with several papers and records. These documents described horrific experiments being conducted there. At that moment, she suddenly heard the sound of approaching enemies, so Kate quickly threw her light stick away and hid behind a large pillar. Just then, one of the Afghan fighters turned on a generator, illuminating the area, and a terrible secret was revealed. Hundreds of capsules containing human corpses were stored there. As the enemies were distracted, Kate seized the opportunity, used her fighting skills, and suddenly snatched a gun from one of them. Upon seeing Kate, the Afghans opened fire on her in a furious barrage, causing a capsule to break open and the body inside to fall to the ground. To save her life, Kate climbed down into a nearby hatch. As soon as their leader saw that Kate had entered the tunnel, he ordered one of his men to follow her to surround her. He then shouted to another man to stay put so that Kate couldn't escape even if she tried to come back. That man, taking up his position, slowly approached the body that had fallen from the capsule. Meanwhile, Kate was crawling silently through the tunnels. As an enemy soldier came to inspect a hatch near her, Kate froze, remaining perfectly still. At that moment, the man on guard duty decided to cover the fallen bodies with a tarp. He had no idea that one of the creatures was still alive, and before he could react, the creature attacked him. At that same moment, Kate managed to reach the stairs of an emergency exit, but then the Afghan leader, Malik, appeared before her. Meanwhile, the other fighter saw his comrade's corpse being devoured by the monstrous creature. Terrified, he began shouting loudly for his commander's help. Taking advantage of this moment, Kate fired her flare gun at the man's chest. She then quickly picked up the enemy's rifle that had fallen to the ground and shot them all dead, one by one. Immediately afterward, Kate threw a grenade and began climbing the stairs. As soon as Kate reached the top, an Afghan suddenly grabbed her leg and pulled her down. Before Kate could recover, the terrifying creature pounced on the man's face and tried to swallow him whole. Seeing all this, Kate became extremely frightened and ran outside. The creature tried to catch her, but Kate somehow managed to escape the bunker. To trap the creature inside, Kate locked the bunker door with chains. But just as she was about to leave, another enemy appeared before her. However, when the man saw the creature trying to get out of the bunker, he fled in terror. Kate then also made her escape, but after going a short distance, she collapsed to the ground due to her severe injuries. To endure the pain and continue walking, she took some medication. After walking a little further, she was suddenly struck by a military vehicle. As soon as the soldiers realized that it was one of their own, they immediately rushed to her aid. The next day, Kate was taken to the army camp. There she met Major Roy, and Kate tried to explain to him that something was terribly wrong in that bunker, but Roy didn't believe her. He said that the situation had deteriorated considerably since the battle, and therefore their full attention should be on the main mission. Angrily, Kate described in detail the terrifying creature she had seen while escaping, but Roy remained unmoved. Roy confiscated the device Kate had found in the lab and sent it to the camp doctor. Meanwhile, a group of soldiers arrived with a prisoner, and Roy ordered them to extract all the information from him. Outside, Sergeant Tom tried to calm Kate down, as she was furious with Roy's attitude. Later, while Kate was being treated by a paramedic, Sergeant Tom arrived with Sergeant Jones. They told Kate that they believed her story, but before returning to the bunker, they needed to know exactly what had happened there. Hearing this, Kate wrote down a Russian phrase that was inscribed on the bunker doors. Her memory was sharp, and she remembered everything perfectly. However, Kate didn't know what it meant. The Afghan prisoner then interrupted, saying it was a warning. It meant that opening it was forbidden. The man also claimed that what Kate had described about the bunker was far more terrifying than they could imagine. This confused Tom. He said that if it was written in Russian, it must have been sealed about 30 years ago, as no Russians had been there for 30 years. The doctor interrupted, saying that no one could survive locked up for so long. The prisoner then made another chilling statement. The creature alive inside the bunker wasn't human. This deeply worried the entire group. As evening fell and darkness descended, the soldiers decided to take turns guarding the area, as new enemies could appear at any moment. Meanwhile, in his cabin, Roy spoke to the colonel, who ordered him to send the device Kate had found immediately. The device was actually a recorder, and Roy stated clearly that if they wanted it, they would have to tell the whole truth about what was really happening. Meanwhile, in the deep darkness of the bunker, those terrifying creatures had freed themselves. They gradually gathered together and began trying to break the chains that blocked their escape route. That night, a soldier named Serrano came to relieve Duane, but as he moved forward, he heard a strange sound behind him. Turning around, he discovered that his comrade had disappeared. Confused and alarmed, Serrano went to the barricade to see what had happened. At that moment, Dave noticed a foul odor spreading through the camp, and suspicious, he went to investigate. He then saw the terrifying creatures running directly towards the base from a distance. Dave screamed at the top of his lungs to warn everyone. Hearing the alarm, the entire squad grabbed their gear and immediately prepared for battle. In an instant, all the soldiers took their positions at the barricade and began firing at anything that moved. Roy now fully understood that Kate had been telling the truth. He ordered Sergeant Tom to lead the squad and to use all available heavy weapons. The soldiers then launched an attack, attempting to eliminate the creatures. But suddenly, a creature ambushed Duane from behind, severing his head with a single blow. The sight left everyone stunned. Sienna, in a panic, fired at the creature, knocking it down from the wall. A paramedic immediately rushed to Duane's aid, but there was nothing he could do. At that moment, one of the terrifying creatures suddenly leaped, attempting to attack the soldiers, but Tom quickly fired his gun, sending the creature crashing into the major's hut. Without wasting a moment, Roy pounced on it, firing his gun repeatedly. The barrage of bullets completely destroyed a part of the creature's body. Now, the soldiers outside the camp had spread out in different directions to confront as many creatures as possible. Meanwhile, as Tom lit his flare, he saw even more creatures approaching from a distance. Seeing this, he loudly ordered the entire squad to retreat immediately. But before they could retreat, unfortunately, 2 soldiers fell victim to the creatures. A third soldier, who was trying to hide in the washroom, was also caught. Meanwhile, as Kate heard a creature approaching, she quickly tried to open the weapons crate. But the crate wouldn't open, and as the creature entered the cabin, it launched a fierce attack on Kate. The terrifying creature then tried to ensnare her with its long tongue. The Afghan prisoner somehow managed to free himself and quickly opened the weapons crate. He then quickly grabbed a machete and struck the creature with all his might. The creature fell to the ground, and Kate, still furious, continued to strike it repeatedly. Outside the camp, complete chaos reigned. A soldier was continuously attacking the creatures with his machine gun, but when given the opportunity, one of the creatures killed him. The heavy gun then started firing uncontrollably, and the bullets hit the fuel cans. The next moment, a massive explosion rocked the entire camp, and after the blast, the soldiers saw a creature standing right in front of them. They all then worked together to finally kill it. At that moment, the major realized he had run out of ammunition. Before he could do anything, a creature attacked him ferociously. The remaining soldiers, along with Kate and the Afghan prisoner, quickly ran towards the barricade. Johns immediately took the prisoner into custody. Sensing the sudden silence, Tom understood that it was dangerous to stay there any longer. He ordered Sienna to immediately run towards the weapons base, while he himself went with the paramedic to find the major. Upon reaching the cabin, a soldier threw a stun grenade at the creature, and taking advantage of this opportunity, Roy picked up his baseball bat and knocked the creature down with a powerful blow. Afterward, everyone rescued their senior officer and took him to the armory, where Dave and the other soldiers were trying to open a container. Meanwhile, the soldiers returned to the main group, but suddenly a creature attacked them. Kate then grabbed an axe from the container and climbed onto the creature's back. Kate severely wounded the creature, after which Tom stepped forward and finished it off completely. With the path clear, the entire group ran inside the container. After closing the door, they rested for a while and then began to think about what to do next. The next morning, when the soldiers opened the container door and surveyed the camp, they were stunned by what they saw. There were neither any creatures nor the bodies of the dead soldiers. After searching for a while, they finally found the carcass of a creature, and they all gathered around to examine it carefully, hoping to understand the mystery of this terrifying creature. During the examination, Dr. Wills discovered that the creature could retract and extend its teeth. Its skin was incredibly thick, and surprisingly, many of its organs were similar to those of humans. Not only that, but the group also realized that the creature's biggest weakness was sunlight. Its DNA had been completely altered, and therefore, sunlight had a direct and harmful effect on it. Meanwhile, the major revealed that he had received crucial information during his conversation with the colonel. He then apologized to Kate for not believing her initially. Roy then explained that a meteor had crashed to Earth many years ago. Russian scientists, intrigued by its presence in the area, began investigating to determine its nature. During their investigation, they discovered a massive, completely destroyed spaceship. They were utterly astonished by this discovery. They then attempted to create a super soldier using the DNA of a creature found in the spaceship. Hearing this, Kate became worried. She revealed that she had seen an entire army being prepared in capsules inside an underground bunker, ready to awaken at any moment. Therefore, they needed to leave immediately. However, their problem was that they lacked fuel to escape the desert. Understanding the situation, they all realized they would have to stay and confront these creatures. Roy promised everyone that he would fight alongside his comrades until his last breath. Suddenly, the creature lying on the table came back to life. It attacked the people around it and tried to swallow Kate's head with its long tongue. To defend herself, Kate forcefully slammed her head against the creature. Roy realized that his entire unit would be wiped out. He pulled out his grenade and, without a moment's hesitation, jumped directly onto the monster. The next moment, a massive explosion occurred, completely destroying the creature. Tom, panicked, rushed to help his friend, but Roy couldn't be saved. After composing himself, Tom went to the prisoner and decided to release him. He wanted them to work together because the man hadn't lied to them about anything. The entire unit then gathered and began taking stock of their weapons, supplies, and ammunition. They soon realized that if another attack occurred, they didn't have enough ammunition to stop it. Therefore, they all made a decision. Before the creatures attacked them, they would attack the bunker first and eliminate all the creatures there. The soldiers quickly prepared for this final mission. Tom told everyone that their job was simply to plant bombs outside the bunker and get out before they exploded. As they approached the bunker, only Tom, James, Kate, and the prisoner Kabir went inside. The rest of the soldiers stayed outside. Without wasting any time, they planted explosives in different locations and started to leave. But as they were leaving, Tom's eyes fell on a medallion lying on the ground, which actually belonged to Kate. As he moved towards the stairs to pick it up, a creature suddenly grabbed him and pulled him down forcefully. A few seconds later, Kate heard Tom's voice on the radio. At that moment, she understood that the creatures had captured Tom. Determined to save her friend, Kate decided to go back down with the other soldiers to find and rescue Tom. Meanwhile, Vex remained inside the military vehicle to operate the elevator. The situation was dire, but everyone still managed to reach the underground area. During this time, the medic heard an alert on the radio, receiving orders that they had to evacuate the entire area within the next 20 minutes. Panicked, Wills immediately told everyone that they had to leave quickly. Hurry! After that, the entire squad set out to search for Tom, while Dave remained at his post to guard the elevator. Meanwhile, Tom somehow managed to use the knife in his pocket to kill the creature that had captured him. Once free, he set out to find his companions. As the others reached the bunker's lab, they were stunned by the sight. Bodies of those killed by the creatures were scattered everywhere, and as they approached the central capsule, an even more terrifying scene unfolded before them. A massive monster was being created inside the capsule. Meanwhile, Tom was suddenly attacked from behind by a creature, but upon hearing Kate's voice, he immediately ran towards the lab, where his companions, using their weapons, managed to kill the creature. At that moment, Welks saw that several Afghans had surrounded the bunker. He immediately climbed onto the weapon mounted on top of the vehicle and began firing at them without stopping to keep the threat at bay. Meanwhile, near the elevator, Dave was surrounded by numerous creatures. While firing at them, he also activated the emergency alarm. By now, Kate realized that the monsters had set a trap for them. She immediately told the group that they needed to get out of there quickly, and then they retreated and closed the door. But Jones understood that the creatures could open the door by turning the crank. So he grabbed the crank with all his might and told his companions to leave, while he stayed behind to hold off the enemies. Outside, Vis's gun ran out of ammunition. He quickly tried to reload, but he had no idea that an Afghan was right below him. Meanwhile, as Sienna was exiting the bunker, she heard a terrifying roar from behind. She stopped herself so that the rest of her companions could safely reach the exit. Soon, the entire squad had reached the elevator. But as soon as Tom realized that Sienna wasn't with them, he immediately decided to save her. He gave orders to the others that if he didn't come out within 5 minutes, they should activate all the bombs and leave. Meanwhile, a creature suddenly attacked Sienna. She was using nearby objects to fight off her attacker. In anger, she continuously struck and finally killed the creature. But then another creature came from behind and brutally clawed a part of her face. The attack was so horrific that Sienna died on the spot. Seeing this, Tom was filled with rage. He picked up a knife and used a trash can lid as a shield to fight the creature. Meanwhile, John was completely exhausted by all of this. He moved away from the door, pulled out his detonator, and sacrificed himself to save his friends. The massive explosion wiped out all the mutants around him. Hearing the sound of the blast, Tom realized that staying there any longer would be suicidal. He immediately decided to flee. Outside, an Afghan attacked the paramedic. He was about to stab Wilks with his knife, but Wilks narrowly escaped. Then, bravely fighting off every enemy, he activated the winch to pull the entire group up. However, the problem was that a part of the mechanism had been damaged by the blast, causing the vehicle to move forward. Wilks frantically tried to stop the vehicle. Inside the elevator, Kate, Kabir, and Dave were fighting dozens of creatures together. Suddenly, a creature struck Dave on the head with its arm, and he collapsed. As soon as the paramedic realized that the winch couldn't be stopped, he decided to jump to the other side of the vehicle. During their fight, Kabir spotted a military vehicle on the stairs, but then a creature grabbed him, and Kabir knew he was doomed. He shouted to Kate to jump off the platform. Thanks to him, Kate's life was saved at the last moment, while Kabir and all the other creatures were killed in a massive explosion. A few seconds later, Kate met up with Tom. On the other side, Wilks was still under attack from several enemies, but at the last moment, his team arrived and eliminated everyone with their weapons. A short time later, their group saw a military plane firing a nuclear missile. They immediately got into a vehicle and tried to escape. Finally, a large bomb hit the ground, destroying everything for miles around in the desert. Only 3 people barely managed to survive this explosion. They understood that this attack was carried out to bury the truth, and without looking back, they left that place forever. If you liked the video, please like it and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.